Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, we're going to be talking about Aries in Vedic Astrology. Aries the Ram.
Aries the Ram, and everybody knows all about Aries, right?
Well, maybe not. Maybe that's why they're watching this.
That's perhaps that's a good idea. Yeah, Aries, I've had a few Aries in my life. They're very much like take charge kind of people.
And so just to recoup here and recover and reminisce about things we've talked about in the past. When you're talking Western astrology, the emphasis is placed on the sun sign. And then you also do look at your ascending sign and your moon sign. Now, in Vedic astrology, the significance is different in that the ascendant is very, very important, and the moon is important, and the sun is much, much less. Like I've heard it said from certain astrologers that, in the West, sun sign might be 70%, and in Vedic, it's maybe 30%.
Mm-hmm. Well, the moon is like your soul. It's the fabric of your being. And the moon is a reflection of that. It's your emotions. So in Vedic astrology, they like to try to help define the person using their emotions. They feel that's a much better way of helping someone understand who they are.
And again, that would be who they are in this incarnation, is the way I'm taking that to be too. So, you might have some sun sign characteristics that don't seem to make sense for you, but you have to look at the total picture because there's a lot going on in the chart. And so, in as far as your sun sign goes, it could be Cancer. But maybe you have Aries in the ascendancy, or maybe it's your moon sign. It all goes together. There's so much going together. And again, I think that the evidence is overwhelming that we live in some sort of matrix. And this is why astrology works, because astrology is part of the programming of the matrix.
Indeed it is, and as long as I have a time of birth, that's the most important thing. I can help people understand who they are, and what they're about, and even answer a lot of questions. And that's the main reason why I had my chart done, and it just answered so many questions for me. It was like breaking a spell. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's why this is here and there, and now it's okay, and I'm not exactly sure why it's like that, but it is.
So the way I view it and what I've gotten, and I think Cindy is in agreement, is that the soul waits for a certain opportune moment and knows what it wants to work on in this life. And in the case of, say, somebody that's coming in to help the world, somebody that is choosing to come back instead of somebody that is karmically bonded to come back, then they're looking for the opportune time to be as effective as possible in their mission here. And so they look at everything that's going on astrologically, because you could get help from the planets and the stars, or sometimes they could hinder.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes they provide challenges, depending on where your Aries is sitting. It might not be sitting with a favorite planet, and that could hinder you.
And of course, nothing is perfect. There's always challenges. So you might look at things and say, well, my number one mission is accomplishing this, X, and then number 2, Y, and number 3, Z. Well, I could be born, over here on April 1st, 2001, and that will give me these opportunities. I could wait, to maybe say, March 28th and 2012, and then that'll give me these opportunities. Or if I'm more patient, then I can maybe wait to sometime in 2037 to jump back in. One thing that we've seen is that souls, the part of us that never really goes away, sometimes we could be reborn right away, and we run into that where people that have passed on, they're back in a body in a relatively short time, maybe a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then there's others that wait decades, maybe even hundreds of years before they come back, because there's, certain things that they want to work on.
And one thing that I have noticed is that families, when it comes to parent and child, they're actually pretty close when it comes to their charts. Their charts, they're very similar, which was really curious. I just realized that the other day when I was doing a chart for a mom and her son, and I'm like, wow, these are very similar characteristics. And then thinking back, thinking about another father and child, and their charts were also similar. So it's interesting how we do this in soul groups.
Yes, we do tend to stay in soul groups. It doesn't mean that some new souls can't jump into our group or jump out, but it does tend to be the way that things are done.
Indeed, it does. And just, to clarify with Vedic astrology, it is different than tropical. With an Aries, you're going to be born between April 15th and May 14th. So in Vedic astrology, that would put you as a Aries rising.
And again, that's because Vedic astrology takes into account the tilt of the Earth. So, if the Earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees, that's pretty significant. So tropical astrology, Western astrology does not take that into account.
No, they don't. They start all of their calculations at 0 degrees. So I didn't think that was right when I heard about that. I'm like, no, you really have to take into account the tilt of the Earth, because astrology is the study of light and how it hits the human body. And those tilts and curves, they matter.
I've heard it said that, millionaires pay attention to astrology because they understand how the universe works, but billionaires pay attention to Vedic astrology.
It's very true.
And then, of course, you might have done that before, just like with me, with Ketu, where it is, and plus just it could be a reason why Ketu is where it is, in my case, which it's going to hinder me from achieving great wealth, not because I couldn't do it, because I choose not to, because it's not important in this lifetime, because this life is all about basically awakening people, healing and awakening others.
Right. Well, you've done it before. So wherever Ketu sits in your chart, that's your past life. These are things that you've done before. You can fall back on those things that you've done before, but you won't be allowed to stay in that spot for very long.
And I've noticed that too, because there's this feeling like it's just not the important thing. Because, for me also, I recognize that the whole monetary system is part of the way the matrix keeps you tied up and keeps you in the system. So it's something that we do have to overcome. And that is going to be one of the keys moving into the higher, more beneficent ages. And the Kali Yuga, which we are escaping, and many believe we've already been out of for a while. That was a way that people were kept in the Kali Yuga. It's just basically keeping you on the wheel so you can never get off. And being that we are going through the mortgage process too, it's kind of funny because they want details on everything, and then they almost are like saying, why are you buying something where it's so inexpensive? You almost get the impression that they want you to buy to your max, to where you're just going to be on that wheel, just striving. That's part of the system that we're in. So when we're talking about Aries, tell us about Aries.
Well, Aries is ruled by Mars and is exalted with the sun. And Aries people are very proud. They're very determined. They're a fire sign, and they get along usually with Leos and Geminis.
Okay. So, Mars, we think, god of war, but there's beneficent aspects to that too. In that Mars will give you the fire to push through. Mars will give you the willpower so that you wouldn't allow yourself necessarily to be just trampled on and all over. So when there's something going on that you can recognize as being wrong or what have you, you have the strength to say, hey, this is not right.
Right. Mars is a soldier. Mars likes to take orders from the sun, basically, the general. So Mars is a protector.
And again, in Vedic astrology, it's not necessarily all about the sun signs. So in Western astrology, people are like, well, yeah, I'm a Gemini, or, this or that. Many times there are exceptions, in recognizing that there's so much more to go into it. And in Vedic, Rahu and Ketu are so important, and those are nodes of the moon. And Rahu is something that always wants more, and Ketu is something that it's kind of in your past.
Yeah, K2 is the headless body, and it's also about the separation of material and spiritual.
So, when we think Mars, we're definitely thinking very masculine, Aries, very masculine. As far as the yang energy, the yang energy as opposed to the yin, fiery in nature. Aries carries qualities of leadership, direction, can-do attitude. All these qualities can be passed on to the person who has Aries as their moon sign or sun sign. In effect, basically where one of the planets from the moon or the sun are situated. All these are the abilities that give Aries the need for speed. So, yeah, maybe an Aries is a little bit more on the pushy end, kind of like, hey, don't worry about the details. Let's just get this done a little bit.
Yeah, they want to get where they were going like yesterday.
Most definitely. So they can't volunteer for work that's not properly understood or ramifications of it. They always benefit from slowing down and taking a step back to recognize the situation. Because think about the ram. What's the symbology there? It's headstrong. That what do they do when they fight? They just smash their heads into the wall or against other rams. So it's just one of those things of knowing your inherent tendencies and then adjusting. And so that way we become a little bit more balanced and we could be more effective in life.
Well, yeah, if we know where our weak spots are, we can, kind of pad those or manipulate those and make them our strong points.
Aries generally have good health, a tendency towards good health, and good resistance to disease as well.
Yes, indeed. They usually they're very healthy, and they're very driven. Aries people are very kind of go get 'em. They're usually very well educated, in the educational system, and very well written and very well read.
So yeah, very, very, they have a lot of strength to them, And good professions would be those in politics, defense, obviously, surgeons, police, chemists, and other things, or sports as well.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely sports. They have the courage and the drive and the will to win.
So Aries is a passionate sign. That means they should be good lovers, devoted to their partners. Like all things in love too, they tend to give their best and are loyal to the person that they are showing their love to. So they tend to be very committed as well. And they have a super thirst for doing and achieving more. They are overachievers.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, and that can at some point weaken a person.
So, good luck numbers for them are 1, 5, and 9. And their beneficial colors are red, orange, yellow, and white.
Yes, indeed. So there's a whole lot about Aries. A little bit different when you look at the dates, if you're an Aries in Vedic astrology. So I look at that. If whatever you were in Western astrology, you tip that backwards, and that's what you would be in Vedic.
So when we're looking at the chart in front of us, you see it says right in the top middle there, first house Aries, ruler, Lord Mars, and the self. Mm-hmm. Touch on that?
Well, these are the qualities of the zodiac sign. And when it comes to your first house, that is your everything. That's your body. That's your health. That's your vitality. That's going to rule your life. So this house, if you have Aries sitting in it, you take the qualities of Aries and you blend them with the qualities of the first house. And that's your overall life path.
And then we see it works basically counterclockwise, because the second house over there in the top left is Taurus. And then we go to the third house, and then it keeps going counterclockwise around. Mm-hmm. And that's how you look at a Vedic chart. And we'll get into more details. We're going to look into each of the houses as well as we go along.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, we will. It's just easier to take it in like little bite-sized pieces.
So the thing to look at too is like when you look at your signs, you look at your ascendant, your moon, and your sun, and you see how they work with each other and interact in balance. Now Gemini, Sun and Moon, as far as Vedic. So what you see is what you get, basically. So that's showing that to me, I would take it as this individual incarnation is really very similar to my soul's personality, so to speak.
Right. The two feed off of each other.
Yes. So again, if you were Aries both ways, then you would have most definitely a very strong pushing forward type of person. So it's interesting. You have to look at all the aspects of the chart to get the bigger picture. So it's much more than just looking at a sun sign, moon sign, or ascendant.
Yep, it definitely is. You got to take everything into account and then mix those everythings together, and you translate that into what you got.
So I hope you guys found this interesting. Anybody that wants to have a chart done, reach out to us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. Typically, it takes a few weeks, as each chart takes Cindy 2 or 3 hours to put together. And then the sessions run about 40 to 60 minutes typically to go over a chart, and we do energy work and biofield tuning at that point in time. And again, we work on a donation basis with the charts, though. It would be great if people could donate ahead of time, just because, since we're working on the donation basis, we're just putting it out there in good faith and goodwill, and it does take a lot of her time to do, and she can only get so many done. But with any other type of energy work, we don't mind people paying before or after, or donating before and after, we should say, because we understand everybody has different abilities. So, as always, guys, make sure you are subscribed to both channels. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.